That's what I call pro talk. When you really don't know the answer, you just make it up.
My rut is that I am in a rut.
To get the pilot of Red Arrow going. This is really a way to skip class.
I want to say, hey, those boys right there are entertainers.
There you go. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said on this podcast.
Alex Rutledge here with American Roots Outdoors TV.
Hey, this is Lee and Tiffany Lukoski from the Crush TV.
Hi, I'm Don Higgins.
This is Jeff Lindsay.
Hey, everybody, this is Mark Drury with Drury Outdoors.
Hey, this is Craig Fitz of Trained Assassins TV. You're listening to Dave and JP on Pro Talk Outdoors, the craziest two I know.
Hey everybody, Pro Talk Outdoors, bringing it to you from the kitchen table here, JP and Dave, and man, we're in that latter part of the deer season right now where if you don't know an exact feeding pattern or one hasn't started yet, you feel kind of like at a loss as to how to fill a tag.
I'm a lost soul right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all are. There's been gun season pressure in both the states we hunt in. Luckily, we're both tagged out in Indiana, so we're just focusing on Kentucky. But they've completed a gun season, and muzzleloader season's right around the corner. But it almost feels like, the rut's winding down, and the deer are, trying to, reset after that pressure to a certain extent that you don't really feel like putting hours in the woods because you almost feel like you could do more harm than good.
Yeah, and the key's going to be food. Food and cover, being in the right place where a deer feels secure but yet has some food there. Our food plots have been absolutely hammered over in Kentucky, and we do have some standing beans as an option, and we've got some Deadly Dozen that's fairly dead because it's been hammered so hard. Some clover that the deer, they're eating in some, but it's mainly after. Everything's kind of nocturnal at this point over there. It's a lot of nighttime
result of
movement.
pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to having those incredible food plots that we've got access to, but man, oh man, the deer love them so much that by this time of year, if it's the only food source in the area, it gets slim.
Yeah, not a lot left there.
The beans will be our solace, I think. If either one of us have a chance to fill a tag, I think it's probably going to be over those.
Yeah, we just need, we need some things to break our way. Number one, we need others around us to lay off the hunting pressure, and I think that's going to happen naturally because it's, post firearm season there. I think we need some help with the weather, which this weekend looks terrible.
Atrocious.
Not good
wet
conditions
and
at
warm.
all. Yeah, just exactly what you don't want. And then, we need, as bad as a lot of people are going to hate to hear this, we need some bitter, cold, nasty, brutal conditions that's really going to put those deer on their feet in daylight hours. And which one of the dogs got a squeak toy?
That's Hazel.
We need those bitter, cold conditions that's going to get deer on their feet, daylight hours, get out there and be able to hunt the food sources. That's what we got to have happen.
100%, and the late bow season like this is not for the faint of heart. So the guys that fill tags at this time of year and after are the guys that have really earned it. And man, this is unbelievable. I've got a golden retriever who's a little over a year old, just an absolute scrape finding machine in the woods. She'll find old ones, new ones. She just runs between them. Not too bad a shed and bone finder, but man, nothing she likes more than a squeaky toy.
Yeah, well, she took it and went to the other room. She might have thought, nope, she's coming back with a different toy. This is a ball this time, but yeah, and much in the same that I killed Curly last year. I was fortunate. I mean, this time last year I was kind of lost as well. In Indiana, I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do, and it just happened to be that I found the deer on standing beans in mid-December, and we had the right weather conditions come in, got really cold and nasty, and was able to move in there and just boom, it can happen that quick. I think it's important to keep up with the MRI and be able to adjust on the fly and just dive in and hunt when the conditions are right. But
I think it's very much like early season archery, in which you can almost look at it like a flow chart or some sort of graph. Is the weather good to hunt? If the answer is yes, you move to the next step. If the answer is no, you don't proceed any further.
Yeah.
So, if the conditions are good and you have a pattern, go in and hunt. Otherwise, you're doing more harm than good.
Go Christmas shopping. with the wife or the girlfriend or whatever.
Or watch basketball. Or
watch basketball.
Something more
yeah.
productive. A good 30 for 30.
Yeah.
So anyway, the fellow we're about to have on knows a heck of a lot, not just about food plots and establishing patterns, but deer hunting in general. And he's got a big announcement that he's about to make that we've teased on our social media pages and some other places that's going to be a Pro Talk Outdoors exclusive. We'll have it first. He'll talk about it after he announces on our show, some other places I'm sure, but we're going to be the first ones to bring it to you. And
not to mention a lot of valuable information. The guy's just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to killing big deer.
100%. So I think this is going to be a valuable episode for a lot of folks. And pay attention to his announcement. It may be something that can pertain to you or be interested in for the 2019 season. We'll be back after the break with Don Higgins. You're listening to Pro Talk Outdoors. Hey everybody, welcome back to Pro Talk Outdoors. JP and Dave bringing it to you live from the kitchen. And I tell you, Dave, we've had the pleasure of having Don on several times before, and bringing him on here for some late season tips is going to be a lot of fun and something you and I both need if we're going to fill
I need it desperately.
Our Kentucky tag. And we're 1 for 2 right now. But before we get into that stuff, Don, we want to welcome you to the show and give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about some big news that you have on several fronts, because it seems to be it's going to be a big December for you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys having me again. It's always a pleasure talking with you guys, whether it's on a podcast or on the phone or seeing you in person or whatever. Just really appreciate what you guys do for the entire hunting industry as well as for myself. So I'm glad to be back on.
Well, it's always our pleasure, Don, and I know we kind of had an idea maybe of where you're headed with some things here, but wanted to hear it from you first. What is the big announcement you have coming for December and all of 2019?
Well, I've actually got three different announcements to make this evening. The first one involves Real World Wildlife Products. Earlier this week, myself and Wes Delks bought out my partner, Kevin Boyer. Kevin is pursuing his consulting business, Elite Land Consulting. He wanted to devote some more time to that and some other projects in the outdoor industry he's working on. So we bought him out. I become the majority owner of the company. Wes is a minority owner. And Wes is also going to be acting as the general manager. Be a full-time position for him. So, we appreciate all Kevin did for the past 10 years. He was a great partner. We started out with just a dream, and we took it to a brand that is recognized by most people, I think, in the hunting industry.
100%.
And, a lot of that is due to Kevin's work ethic and his dedication to details. So he's going to be missed, but we're looking to take it to the next step, and I think Wes is the right guy for that. He's a graduate of Purdue with a wildlife degree. He was working for a company in Indiana overseeing 40 people in 9 states, crop inspectors. So he's real familiar with the seed industry, and we just feel that he's a great fit for Real World. So the first bit of news is that kind of the management team of Real World has had a little bit of an overhaul.
Well, I tell you, Don, I remember coming up, I guess it was back late winter, early spring, we came up, and I think Eric and I came up. You guys were you were burning your switchgrass off, and we were doing some filming up there, and Wes was there and was able to meet Wes, and I have to say I was very impressed with Wes as an individual and knowledgeable and just a good a good guy. I mean, all the way around. He was interested in what we were doing, and shared some information about the things that he was doing, and stayed in contact with Wes. So I think he'll be a very welcomed addition and a good member to bring in as part of an ownership team and a management team for Real World. So congratulations to that, and Kevin. I'm sure Kevin will be missed in his work ethic. He's a heck of a good guy, and we've enjoyed getting to know him as well.
Right. Yeah, Wes is definitely a first-class person, as is Kevin. So we know that we're going to lose some things with Kevin, but Wes gives us some youth. Kevin and I are about the same age. We're in our middle 50s, and Wes is a guy in his middle 20s, late to middle 20s, and we need to hit that youth. We don't want to be a couple old guys trying to talk to the kids. We need somebody they can relate to, and we feel that it's a different generation that Wes can relate to better than we can. But at the same time, we don't want to alienate the customers that have already been so loyal to us over the last 10 years. We want to keep the connection with them as well.
I think that's some great foresight and predictive ability there to stay ahead of the curve, and that's really a testament to what company survives and thrives and what one doesn't. So kudos to you guys for thinking of that youth movement. So what does that mean for Real World in 2019? Is there something else on the horizon there, or what else you got going?
Well, we've also brought on a couple of other new employees in the past few months. Stephen Fye, some people may be familiar with him. He's done a lot of filming for some of the biggest names in the hunting industry. He is now the head of our sales department. We're real excited to have him on board as well. He's got a lot of connections within the hunting industry that we don't have, and a lot of experience. I think he's worked in the hunting industry and sales since he got out of college. So we're happy to have him on board as well. And then we hired a office administrator, Janice Likens, who actually worked for Kitchen Seed Company, who does all our packaging and everything. So she's real familiar with Real World products. So we've really expanded the team, and for 2019, instead of bringing on a bunch of new products or anything, we're going to focus on customer service and getting these new employees up to speed and familiar with everything. And then in 2020, a year down the road, after these folks have all had a year experience in their new positions, then we're really going to look to take off.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Awesome. I know you've got something else going on the personal front as well, and part of Higgins Outdoors, that's separate from Real World Wildlife Products. What is it that you're going to release in that regard?
Well, I've actually got a couple of things. Just today, I took my final exam to be a real estate broker here in Illinois.
Congratulations.
So,
yeah. Wait. Did you pass?
Well, I don't know yet. We'll find out. Hopefully, by the time everybody hears this podcast, I will be officially licensed real estate agent in Illinois. But that was a really interesting endeavor, going through those classes and learning. There's a lot of things I didn't realize that I think probably a lot of the public didn't realize either. But I plan to be an agent that finds a deer hunter the ideal property for his budget and his goals. I get to travel around the state, in my consulting business and with Real World. I'm in constant contact with landowners and deer hunters and people that are buying and selling property. And if a person is looking for a hunting property and they've got specific, budget and goals, I feel like I'm one of the people that can really help them achieve that and find the ideal property for them.
Essentially, you'll be kind of a one-stop shop, really, when it comes to, if a guy is wanting to find a piece of ground to own and set up and manage, you'll be able to take care of all of his needs there.
Yeah, and actually one thing that I'm going to offer is any client that buys a property through me, I'm going to offer a free consulting visit to that property and help put the plan together for him, detailed out in writing, mark the aerial photos and everything, pick out stand sites, the whole 9 yards, and so they can hit the ground running. As time's gone by with my writing and all the other endeavors here in the hunting industry, one of the greatest things is meeting people and helping them succeed. There's just nothing like, getting that phone call or that email and with a photo attached, and the guy says, I just killed the biggest buck of my life, and it's from a tree that you told me to put a stand in, or it's from something I read in one of your articles. So I'm just kind of looking to take that to the next level, and this real estate business is going to help do that, I believe.
You know, Don, that's a gift that's going to keep on giving, whether you fill a tag in a given season or not. Seeing other folks reap those rewards and have it mean so much to you, you know, that's going to come back tenfold each year, and I know that it already has, and I know that a lot of what I've picked up from you has helped me in the years past, and especially this year. So, you know, I'm glad to hear you embrace that and pursue it even further. That's going to be exciting. You may have to just go by one single name. You're going to build up such a reputation. You're not going to need two names.
Well, I don't know that I'll ever get to that point, but you know, no matter how well known I become, I'm just a simple country boy. God didn't make me any better than He made anyone else, and I just I want to always be humble and, you know, give credit where it's due. And the Lord's opened a lot of doors for me, and I just try to take advantage of them when He does, and always remember that you know, I'm just a simple country boy, and just try to be honest and treat people the way I want to be treated, and it just comes back and you get rewarded for doing so.
Well, Dave and I, we don't count too well, but I think that's only two. So what is announcement number 3?
Well, number 3 is probably the biggest one of all. You know, I get multiple requests every year. People want to know if I give tours on my property, and I can't even tell you how many requests I've had for that. And I got to thinking, you know, there's a lot of guys out there that are giving classes, or sometimes they call them boot camps or things like that, where they'll have deer hunters come in and try to teach them some things. And usually it's a one-day class on a Saturday or something. Well, I got to thinking that the unique position that I'm in, especially with my property. My property is literally the best deer hunting property I've ever hunted on in my life, and I've hunted on quite a few pieces of ground, but I'm going to start offering a class called the Whitetail Master Course, and it's going to start in March. I've got 2 dates picked out in March, but I've had the few people that I've told about it, all of them want to come, so it may end up being a lot more than just 2 days or 2 different dates. But what we're going to do is meet here. I've got a building, a pole building that's heated, insulated, it's got restrooms and things in it. We're going to have the class in that building, but a lot of our time is going to be spent in the field. We're going to look at the exact tree stands on my property where I've killed Boone and Crockett bucks, the stand where I shot Smokey last year, or the blind rather, 206-inch buck. You know, my students are going to be able to climb up in that blind. We're going to watch the videos from not only that blind and that hunt, but different hunts and from different stands and such. And then we're going to go out into the field, and we're going to see exactly, you know, they're going to be able to lay their eyes on the very cover that those big bucks walked through when I was filming, when I shot them, or whatever. We're also going to tour a second property that's just a few miles from my home, where I've also shot mature bucks. You know, we'll study both these properties on an aerial. I'll show the students how I use the wind on each of my stand locations, how I've set things up and laid them out to be successful on 2 different properties. And I don't think, you know, I'm not knocking anyone else's courses or classes or whatever they do, but I don't think there's any other course out there where you can go and see the very tree stands where multiple Boone and Crockett bucks have been shot, as well as a buck over 200 inches. So, you know, it's going to be kind of a unique experience. Like I said, I don't think anyone else in the country is offering anything close.
I think most people in these boot camps that are out there right now, they're going to be speaking more in generalities. They may show some video footage, and they may kind of go over given situations, but you're essentially opening up the gates to your farm. You're, you know, giving everybody the keys to the car, whatever, and taking them out there, letting them actually sit in the stand, look at the location, look at the bedding areas, look at all over, and you're going to essentially open up your mind and everything and just be an open book and explain everything to these folks and why it went down the way it did and why you set up the way you did. And that's invaluable. Is that the right word, JP?
Yeah.
That's invaluable. I mean, there's no way to quantify how important that is, actually.
100%.
Yeah, and you know, I want to stress that we're not going to stomp over every square inch of my farm. I figured out a way that we can do this tour without disturbing the deer too much, I believe. And I'll tell you what, I'll just be 100% honest. If we do this year, and I think it's affected the deer hunting on the property in a negative way, it'll be over. It'll never happen again.
One-time offer.
I don't doubt that a bit.
My deer hunting's pretty important to me, and I like sharing with people. But at the same time, if it's going to have a negative impact on my deer hunting, it's going to be over. So, this might be a one-time chance, but I think it's going to go pretty well because I've got the course lined up where we can walk without disturbing things too much. And the fact of it is, with the groups walking and talking, if a deer can hear the people and keep track of where exactly they're at, it's not really that much pressure on them. It's when people go sneaking around, and come right up on a bedded deer, and that's when it scares them and spooks them. So as long as they can hear us moving around, it shouldn't be that big a deal.
Now, Don, I have to ask two questions here, two-part question. A, where can people find all the detailed information about this course and attending it? And B, when will that open up and you'll be allowing folks to go ahead and sign up?
Well, it will be on my website when this podcast plays. My website will be updated and it will have information right there. And the crazy thing about it, when I was getting the info together for this page on my website, this new page from my web designer, I started collecting the photos of the bucks that I'd been shot from the various stands that we're going to see. And I was thinking, we might have 8 or 10 pictures of deer, but I'm telling you, there's probably 20, 25 photos of nice bucks that have been shot from these stands that these folks are going to get to see. So, I don't think there's probably another property like mine. It's only 120 acres. And people have the idea that you need to manage hundreds or thousands of acres to have a real chance at killing big deer consistently. And I've proven that's not right. So not only are we going to be talking about hunting tactics, but also the habitat and how it's laid out. And one thing I should throw out there also is there's going to be one rule that this class is not offered to anyone who lives within 100 miles of me. And I'm going to, unless they have hired me to do a consulting visit, on their property, in that case I will let them come. But I'm not just going to let every Tom, Dick, and Harry that lives down the street show up and look over my property and see what they can do to undermine my gold mine.
Well, I will say this because I have been out to your property on a couple different occasions, and it is an absolute whitetail utopia. I mean, it is, and I can't even no matter what I say right now, the folks listening to this are not going to be able to understand it, but the things that you've done, I mean, I've tried to look at properties that I hunt and tried to translate that in some way, but you've basically set it up where you can hunt it with a foolproof plan. I mean, you can get into certain stand locations, certain blind locations, in and out without any kind of disturbance, without any kind of threat of getting busted by any deer. And they've got tons of cover. They've got tons of food. And just to be able to set that up that way, and I think, would you say it was 120 acres, Don?
Right.
So, I mean, it's not a gigantic piece. I mean, it's not like you're talking a couple thousand acres, but you're able to hunt 120 acres with minimal disturbance multiple times and kill that kind of, those kind of mature bucks. It's just absolutely impressive.
Well, and the thing of it is, it's set up in such a way and laid out in such a way that season after season after season, whatever the biggest buck is every year, I can get him in front of me and kill him if I want to. Now, some years I don't. The biggest buck that's here, he may only be 4 or 5 years old, and I want him to get to 6. That was the case this year. I've got 2 5-year-olds on my place that I've got video footage. I could have shot them this year. Man, and they're both 170 class deer, but I want them to get to that 6-year age group and see how much more antler they put on next year. And when I go visit with my clients on their properties, my goal is not that this guy's going to kill a 200-inch deer or he's going to kill 180 or whatever. my goal is that he will kill the biggest buck of his life within a couple of years of having me there, but also that we get his property laid out in such a way that year after year after year, he can kill the biggest buck that's running that property. And it might only be a 140-inch deer some years, depending on the property. But I want him to have a chance to kill the biggest buck that's running his property every year.
I think that's exactly the goal that every deer hunter probably has in mind when he enters the woods, unless he's walking in there solely for meat. Anybody who's interested in hunting mature bucks, I have to think that is going to appeal to them. So you may be hitting on a gold mine here, Don.
Let me ask you this question, Don. I don't think JP asked this one. Is there a cost on this yet? Do you have the fee figured out, what you're going to charge for this class?
Yeah, it's going to be $1,200. And if any one of my consulting clients my past clients, if they want to come, it's going to be $1,000. I'll knock $200 off for them. But
and is there a limit on how many people? I mean, obviously you can't have too many people in there, but do you have a number in mind of what you want each class to be?
Yeah, we're going to limit it to 15 per class, and we're going to serve lunch and everything. So we'll show up and start about 8 in the morning, and I'll stay and answer questions until midnight, until the last person leaves. So, we're gonna go through a lot of things, on the screen in the shed. We're gonna see some video footage and aerial photos of the properties we're looking at and everything else. But I'm also there to answer every single question that anyone has. So, I want it to be something different and something better than they've ever been to before.
Well, I have no doubt that it will be.
100%. Don, before we let you go today, we want to absolutely...
Well, we got to talk some deer hunting.
Yeah,
here.
That's what I'm saying. We got to give you a chance to talk about your season. I know you haven't shocked the world as of yet, but I have to think that you've still got some tricks up your sleeve for this year, or some opportunities that you may not have turned loose on yet. What are you looking for your outlook the remainder of the season?
Well, there's really... I passed a buck on Halloween evening that if I get another crack at him, I'll probably shoot him. Mm-hmm. I know he's at least 7 or 8 years old just from past trail camera pictures. And I had my eye on a couple of really big bucks earlier, and that's why I didn't shoot him at Halloween, because I didn't want to burn one of my buck tags. But if I get a crack at him again, I'll probably take that. I was watching a real giant last summer, and I'm talking probably 200 inches plus. He had 14 or has 14 points on one side, 9 on the other.
Oh my God!
But when he shed velvet, he moved, and it took me a while to relocate him. In fact, it took me until probably early November. But I figured out where he moved, and I tried to get permission in that area, and the hunting permission was already tied up on every property around where that buck was at. I did get one trail camera picture of him back in his summer range at night on November 7th. And then last winter, he showed up on 2 different properties I can hunt in January, which is on his summer range. So I'm hoping that he comes back to that summer range like he did last year before season goes out, and I get a crack at him. I'll probably save one tag for that, because it's a really special buck, and I just about got to save one tag for him.
Understandable. I mean, from the sound of it, it's got a chance to be legendary. Is that something you expect to happen over top of some standing beans, or what's the plan there?
Well, there's the properties that I can hunt where he's at. One of those has a food plot on it of soybeans, so there's a chance he could show up there. There's a lot better chance in another property that just has a cornfield, but it is a cornfield that has a lot of corn laying out there. The combine, the corn got blowed over pretty hard before the combine come through, so there's a lot of it laying on. So, I'm hoping we get some bad weather and he shows up there.
Don, let me ask you a question about, I know on Facebook and social media you've been releasing a daily rut report and everything, and basically your entire season and what you're doing, what you're seeing. What can guys expect, like from here going forward, what's the month of December going to look like? What kind of I guess, what's your style going to be hunting-wise? You just going to hunt evenings only, food source only? Is there any certain thing you're going to key on?
One thing I'll throw out first, Dave, is on those rut reports. I hope people don't think that I'm showing all the deer I'm really seeing. I put a picture or a video clip every day on that rut report, but I'll tell you what, there's some things that I haven't showed. I got to keep a few things in my back pocket.
Oh, absolutely.
Did I lose you again?
Yeah, well, you're there. I got you now.
Okay. My phone buzzed. I thought I lost you again. But, no, from here on out, it'll be afternoon hunts only. And over close to food sources, between the food source and the bedding areas. And actually, for the big bucks, the closer I can get to the bedding area, the better. But a lot of times in the late season, when all the foliage is off the trees, it's really tough to get very close. Weather fronts, I'll be definitely hunting the weather fronts. Hoping we get some really bad, nasty, cold weather before the season goes out, because under those conditions, every mature buck's going to be on his feet every afternoon. And that's basically when a guy, I think, has the very best chance to kill a specific buck on purpose, is in the late season under brutal cold conditions.
Yeah, so we need to be rooting on a really nasty December.
Yeah, or early January.
Yeah, well, for us, I think it needs to be December for the most part.
Yeah. We don't have a whole lot of January to work with.
But I get totally what you're saying there. Well, Don, I know it's been a pleasure. I know congratulations on all 3 announcements. They're all huge, all big things coming for 2019 for you and for Real World Wildlife Products. And I know we feel like we've been blessed to be associated with Real World and to be able to use the products. And it's done nothing but help us out in our success the last couple of seasons. And look forward to great things going forward.
Yeah, furthering our whitetail education. That's the way I like to look at it.
Well, yeah, we're glad to work with you guys. You guys are exactly the type of people we love. You guys are down to earth like we are. There's no big egos in the way when we're around you. It's just good friends having a good time, and that's what it's all about. So just keep up the good job, guys.
Well, same to you, Don, and we look forward to throwing this one out there to the airwaves and let everybody hear what you have coming for 2019. And hang with us through the break. We'll be back. You're listening to Pro Talk Outdoors. Hey, everybody. I'm going to close out an episode here. We've had Don Higgins on again, and I think if you went through the annals of the Pro Talk Outdoors history, you're going to see his name on more episodes than probably any other guest, but it's rightfully so. Not only is he a wealth of knowledge, but he's a guy who brings a lot of headlines to the table. I mean, last year it was 2 deer that, one was over 200 and the other one was knocking on the door in Trump and Smoky. And this year, he's making even more announcements. I mean, he's got a lot of changes coming at Real World Wildlife Products.
Dropped a bombshell, really, essentially. I mean, that was a shock to us.
100% a bombshell. Didn't see any of that coming. And then he's got these other endeavors he's chasing as well. He's going to be a licensed real estate agent, primarily to help folks with their whitetail aspirations, and then he's offering a whitetail master's course essentially from his home on the farm where he does all these things.
I can tell you now, I've been there to his farm on a couple different occasions. That will be money absolutely well spent. The individuals that are able to book and go to this class, they're gonna learn a ton. I mean, I can't even. Yeah, to me, I'm kind of a fanboy anyway, So like,
sure.
Whenever I was able to actually get in the blind there where he shot Smokey, and it's kind of like reliving the whole thing, It was like I was there. That's a cool experience. But just to be able to spend time with Don on his farm for a day and pick his brain, learn a few things from him, and to me, that's just invaluable. It's just a great idea, and I'm sure lots of people are going to take him up on it, and they're gonna learn a lot and be better off for it.
You know, obviously our listening audience is somebody who outdoor-minded and deer hunters, so I don't have to explain to them the value of that. But if you're listening in your car and your wife or your girlfriend or a friend that isn't outdoorsy, doesn't really understand the appeal of something like that, let me put it in a stick and ball reference. Essentially what Don is offering here is an opportunity to walk on Yankee Stadium, see where Babe Ruth hit all these home runs, where Mickey Mantle played, and then is offering a hitting lesson or a pitching lesson on that field and some. I mean, it's even more than that. I mean, it's that times 2 or 3 because of the intricacies he's going to let you in on and how he accomplished these
Absolutely.
things. So, you know, if it doesn't make sense to you, think about it in that regard. It's a very big offer that he's putting on the table.
And I'll say this. I'm going to throw this out there. If you're listening to this and you're a wife or you're a girlfriend and you're not sure what to get your husband or boyfriend for,
get him that.
He will love you till the day you die.
Unless you live within 100 miles of Don.
Yeah, well then I don't know about that, but book this thing. Best gift you could give them. Best gift.
Well, guys, and we hope that this show is a gift that keeps on giving to you, and I know that it has been for us the last. We're almost to hit year 3 here in just a couple months. We're going to be hitting year 3, so
absolutely,
it's been an awesome, remarkable journey for us, and we hope to just continue to keep growing, and we can only do that with you folks, clicking on our show and listening, liking, commenting, and reaching out to us. So thank you so much for that, and hey, until next time, hook 'em or hunt 'em. Pro Talk Outdoors.
Later, guys.